Change management. I had earlier spoken on this topic. I would like to add a few more points. Change can be slow, gradual. It creeps upon you, or it can be drastic and sudden. We see the print media going in decline. I think newspapers and all that, especially, and it's about, I think, the next generation. The next generation or the new generation doesn't like reading newspapers, and they have the other means of finding out news if they want to through internet and mobile phones and all that. So it looks like it is in decline and it will maybe perish, maybe survive. Has it been gradual? Has it been drastic? Is it sudden? Can something be done about it, or you just have to accept that fact that nothing can be done? So let it go on and it will die its natural death, or it will maybe come back as like fashions come back. So the creeping part of change is when you don't even notice the things are changing. The boiling frog phenomenon that I had talked about earlier. And then there are basically they talk of two kinds of differences, two types of differences: difference of degree and difference of kind. Difference of degree is from less to more, like the visible spectrum. You move from the violet to the red part, or from the red to the violet. Vibgyor, Vibgyor, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. Or let's say you take black, you start adding a little bit of white to it, it becomes gray, and then it becomes white. So there is white and there is black, and there are varying shades of gray in between. So that is a gradual kind of change. That would be a change or a difference in degree. That is gradual, slow to less to more. White, then gray, then black, or black, then gray, then white. So it's a difference in degree, intensity. It over a period of time, it is a flow, it's a process. Difference in kind, again, so change can be by degree, like difference of degree. And difference in kind is like sudden, discrete, one off, 0-1 binary. Light is on or off. It is either yes or no. It is 0 or 1. Signal is on, signal is off. If there is a signal, it is 1. It is not there, it is 0. So change can also be, it is called difference of kind. And change can also be drastic or discrete and sudden, from this to that. There is no middle ground. Whereas between white and gray, dark, there are various shades of gray, and there is a lot of middle ground. Whereas in some cases, from 0 to 1, yes or no, light switch on or light switch off, most of the times there is no middle ground. It's either this or that, between two extremes. So change can also be very rapid, very drastic, and maybe these are the processes are different. The degree type of thing doesn't become the kind type of thing. They are just two different sets of things. So some changes are like differences of degree, and some changes are like differences of kind. And when you are talking of a major change or a difference in kind of change, you can't do it incrementally. Then it has to be either drastic. So incremental will not give you the radical thing. It is not that you keep on adding incremental, slow, gradual change becomes radical. Either you go for incremental or you go for radical. It's either yes or no. So it is very drastic, and this is slowly, a little bit more and more. And one thing doesn't lead to another. You can't say ki the degree, if we change the degree, we will get a different kind. Sometimes it just has to be like that. You can gradually go from white to black and black to white, but in a yes no situation, in a 0-1 situation, in a binary situation, in a switch on off situation, there is no gradual period. There is no adjustment period. It is just flip a switch on or off. So then the first thing cannot lead to the other. So you have to have a different way of doing it. The second thing is like ripping off a band-aid, that's painful kind of a thing. So sometimes you have to do that and sometimes you have to do that, depends on the situation. The one more thing is, one keeps hearing a lot about people saying don't talk about changing the world, change yourself first. Now that is okay for individuals. I mean, a normal human being, one individual, when he has complaints about the world and all that, and he wants to change the world, he can't do it because he's powerless, and maybe he should try to adapt and adopt and survive, and maybe something is wrong with him or her and should look at changing himself. But this kind of thinking is not a luxury that is afforded to leaders. If you are a business leader, if you are a political leader, if you are a leader of any sort, if you are an entrepreneur, if you are running a company and you want to change something in your company, then can you say that, oh, I can't do anything, let people in my company change themselves? Is it going to work like that? No. Will you say that, so it is like individual versus system. We say we need to change the system, and some say no, system change will not work. All the individuals within the system have to change. Only then real change will happen. So if you want to change India, all Indians have to change. And nobody can tell you or tells you how that is going to happen. How are you going to make that happen, that each individual will change? Again, it is left to himself or herself. So he will do it, won't do it, may or may not be able to do it, because changing oneself is also very difficult. And it is an excuse for not changing the system, in a way, I think. It is an excuse for avoiding some sort of a revolutionary process. And it is that kind of thinking, the luxury of thinking like that is not available to a business organization. He needs to make drastic changes to survive and to grow, and he's under pressure, the business leader or the political leader. He wants to change the society and all that. And really, is he going to say, oh, let my citizens change, let my people change, let my team change, let all team members change and transform themselves on their own, of course, if they are convinced all, and then it will happen one fine day, everything will be hunky-dory. No. So you have to impose things and you have to force change sometimes. So you have to kind of trigger change. It just is not going to happen on its own. For individuals, it might make sense, but for an organization, for a leader of an organization, it doesn't make sense. He can't wait for all the team members to change and transform themselves. He has to initiate that process in one way or the other somehow, and he has to get things moving. And this is generally the line of thinking that religion prefers, because we are all imperfect and we should change and improve, and we are not good and we are flawed and we are imperfect. So being imperfect beings, we must think of changing ourselves. But good, that is also necessary. But the other part is also necessary. System also plays a role. And there are people who are in charge of systems, and they have to do their job of changing the systems. Of course, it would work well if the system and the individuals both change, but there is no template for individual change. That is supposed to be left to the individuals. So how is it going to work then? So sometimes people, when you're talking of some sort of revolutionary kind of a process, you can't just talk about this, let everybody change in his or her own way, and you can't change anybody and they have to change themselves, and don't talk of changing anybody, first change yourself. CEO can't talk like that or he'll be out of his job. So let's be clear about that. I had also talked about Greiner model earlier, where different type of thinking is required at different stages of growth, and you need to do restructuring and change. That is also change management, because you are making major structural changes. And one of the things that a similar thinking can be found in a book written by Jim Collins, who wrote two well known books, Built to Last and Good to Great. And he makes a similar point in his book, Good to Great, that some organizations are good and some organizations are great. Great is supposed to be obviously better than good. Good is okay, good, but great is great. And he said, what makes you good will not necessarily make you great. You started and you became a good organization, you are a good company, you are a good business, or whatever. Now, the same thing that made you achieve goodness or whatever results you have got will not, the same thinking, the same process, the same structure will not make you great. So, if you want to go from good to great, you have to again rethink. And that what made you good is not necessarily going to take you to the journey towards greatness. You started, you became good, and now if you want to become great, you can't say we will continue doing and it will make us great. Just continue doing what we are doing. He says you need a different way of doing things. You need a major change to go from good to great. And everybody can't do that. Everybody is unable to do that. Everybody may not even want to do that. So that is again somewhat similar to Greiner's model of growth, where at different stages you need a different kind of thinking, different structure and strategies. That is also connected to change management, because if you want to go from good to great, a major change is required, a major transformation is required in structure, strategy, thinking, philosophy, and all that. Similarly, in Greiner also, from one stage to the other, if you want to go to the next stage of growth, there is a major transformation required, which is again a change, management process. So I thought I'll add these points to supplement what I had talked about earlier. Thank you.